Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit different and honestly, absolutely fascinating. We're going to take the incredibly dense, metaphysical concepts of two absolute giants of philosophy, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe and Friedrich Nietzsche, and translate them into what's essentially a graphic novel-style parable. Think of it as a story of seeds, spirits, and salvation. We're using the life cycle of a single plant as a metaphor for the human spirit, battling its way from the dark earth all the way up to the brilliant surface. It's a wildly engaging way to understand how our consciousness grows, suffers, and ultimately finds its purpose. So get ready to look at your own upward striving in a completely new light. Let's get into it.
Chapter 1. The Dark Soil of Solitude.
Okay, let's dive right in by plunging our narrative deep underground into the dark, cold soil. We're starting with a profound concept that philosophy calls the seventh solitude. Now, you know Goethe was just as much a brilliant botanist as he was a poet, right? Well, he viewed human consciousness exactly like a plant, and this perfectly illustrates his view. The seventh solitude isn't some tragic, permanent isolation. No, it's actually the violent, absolutely necessary cracking open of the seed coat in the pitch black. To grow at all, the plant literally must shed its protective layer. It's painful, it's lonely, for sure, but it is the very spark of life.
This cracking open builds into what Goethe calls Steigerung, which roughly translates to heightening, enhancement, or metamorphosis. For Goethe, the dark isolation of that seventh solitude doesn't just happen for no reason. It's the necessary condition for a higher synthesis. Think of it like a blueprint for authentic growth. You start isolated in the dark. You shed that comfortable armor that used to keep you safe. And only then can you actually begin a self-directed, authentic upward climb.
Chapter 2. The Spirit of Upward Striving.
But here's the catch. Our freshly cracked seed faces a massive problem right out of the gate: inertia. It needs a catalyst so it doesn't just rot in the cozy comfort of the soil. The Lord in Goethe's masterpiece Faust points this out perfectly. He says, man's activity can easily abate. He soon prefers uninterrupted rest. It perfectly identifies our most natural yet dangerous desire, that longing for unearned peace. I mean, think about it. Left to our own devices, we'd probably choose the comfort of the couch over the friction of growth almost every single time. So, in our parable, to prevent this tragic stagnation, a disruptive nature spirit steps in. Inspired by the demonic forces in Faust, this spirit acts as a seemingly evil antagonist. It brings storms, shifting earth, real discomfort. But here is the brilliant irony of it all. This tormenting force actually saves the seed. By constantly disrupting its peace and denying it any restful satisfaction, the spirit forces the plant into relentless upward motion. It forces what Goethe calls striving. This spirit is literally the necessary friction for growth.
Chapter 3. The Danger of Eternal Rest.
Now, as our plant pushes upward, it hits a perilous temptation. The nature spirit, wanting to really test the limits of our protagonist's resolve, tempts the growing consciousness with a vision of the gardens of Armida. In mythology, this is a place of ultimate luxury and ease. It's a forbidden moment of restful satisfaction that looks exactly like paradise, but, as you might guess, it is actually a beautifully disguised trap. Because for Goethe, accepting this final, comfortable illusion is nothing less than a spiritual death sentence. The gardens of Armida represent that incredibly dangerous longing to just stop. When you accept comfortable illusions or when you embrace a static set of beliefs just because they're easy, kind of like settling into a comfortable but entirely unfulfilling routine, you halt all striving. Your metamorphosis just ends. The plant stops growing entirely and the spirit effectively dies.
To survive this trap, our protagonist has to make a truly terrifying choice. They have to actively reject the enclosed, perfectly manicured artificial garden. Instead, they must step bravely out into the grander, untamed architecture of nature. It's chaotic, it's completely unpredictable, but the thing is, it's the only place where true, self-directed harmony can actually be achieved. Comfort is the enemy here. The wild, upward striving is life itself.
Chapter 4. A Tale of Two Redemptions.
Okay, so having survived the dark soil and rejected the artificial garden, our fully grown consciousness finally breaks through the surface into the light. But now it hits a profound crossroads of meaning. How do we justify all this painful striving we just went through? Well, we have two profoundly different answers. Goethe's Cors Mysticus points upward. He offers a metaphysical rescue, validating human striving by wrapping it in an ultimate, transcendent purpose that exists totally outside of space and time, a sort of heavenly justification. But Nietzsche, he completely flips the script. Nietzsche offers an aesthetic redemption. He demands that you love life exactly as it is, with all its errors, illusions, and absolute pains, without needing a heaven to justify it. It's the Dionysian view, embracing life's chaotic reality and transforming it into a joyful song of praise for the brutal, beautiful material world itself.
Chapter 5. The Crisp April Wind.
Let's step fully into Nietzsche's vision now, and shift our parable's tone to match his fierce, aphoristic style. Nietzsche looks back at the old mystics with, well, a good bit of disdain. He says they sang of a world behind the veil, pointing their trembling fingers toward an eternal feminine that draws us upward into the clouds. He calls this earnest, heavy-footed nonsense. Why? Because what they really wanted was a truth that was solid, unchanging, and ultimately safely dead. They just wanted an escape from the reality of the soil and the storm.
But Nietzsche offers a radically different perspective for our plant that has just broken the surface. He says, we daredevils of the spirit, who have crawled out of the seventh solitude into the crisp April wind of convalescence, have learned a cleaner devotion. Convalescence here means a true recovery from the illness of nihilism. We don't ask to be led upward and away from the earth anymore. We survive the dark, we finally feel the wind, and we are totally awake to the physical world around us. Chapter 6. Worshipping the curtain itself. We arrive now at the climax of our philosophical graphic novel. A new law is written for our fully realized consciousness, and it goes like this. All that is permanent is but a mask. The unattainable is merely a poorly written poem. This striking aphorism completely redefines our entire reality. It strips away the desperate need for an invisible, perfect heaven and demands a much cleaner, braver devotion to the actual world right in front of our eyes.
Let's see how this builds to the ultimate Nietzschean revelation. Instead of seeking some metaphysical rescue behind reality, constantly looking for hidden meanings and secret heavens, we are called to boldly worship the curtain itself. The material world, the very physical existence of our plant swaying in the April wind, that isn't a distraction from the truth. That literally is the truth.
To really get what this explainer is all about, we must grasp this profound concept that Nietzsche calls our joyful superficiality from profundity. It means having the immense depth and courage to remain bravely at the surface, to adore the tone, the melody, the ripple on the water, to love the errors, the illusions, and the fleeting moments of material life without desperately needing them to be permanent. Our plant doesn't need to reach heaven, right? Its victory is simply feeling the sun on its leaves today. So, as we wrap up our parable of the seed and the spirit, consider this final thought on your own upward striving. You've endured your seventh solitude. You've fought the nature spirit. You've actively resisted the artificial gardens. Now that you are here, which chorus will you sing? Are you going to seek a safely dead truth behind the veil, always looking for an escape? Or will you join the daredevils of the spirit, worshiping the curtain and bravely adoring the magnificent, chaotic melody right here on the surface? The choice of how you grow next is entirely yours. Keep striving, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.